Who had the best rap album in 1996? Whew, lock in and hang on because we're about to try to figure that out. Welcome to Grown Man Bars.
Might be the single most important beat in hip hop.
And Q had a lot of things built up from the time that he had served with them. B.A., this one was yours, man. Let me hear why you chose that.
If we know that. But he turned a lot of people off buzzing. What? I mean, I did get my money back, so there's that.
What's good, family? You're sitting in Uncle Willie's barbershop, a Grown Man Bars, best hip-hop show for grown-ups in America, where for some reason, school children recite the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. While you're here, go ahead and go Kendrick Lamar on that like and subscribe button so that we can keep this party going. I'm your man, Chad, and with me, as always, is a man so much about his business. When he was born, he drove his mama home from the hospital. B.A., what's buzzing, cousin?
What it do, family? What it do?
All right, 1996, man. I don't know how many people clicked on this and had any idea of what we're about to go through, because when we decided to do this, I didn't. I thought I did. I thought I knew what rap album. I thought I knew what we were going to be working with. I really did. I said, oh, yeah, man, this will be easy. I know what the best rap album of 1996 is. B.A., I don't know why you brought this up, man. This is easy. This going to be an easy show. This going to take 5 minutes. And then I saw this list, and it goes like this. All Eyes on Me by Tupac. The Score by the Fugees. ATLiens by OutKast. Riding Dirty by UGK, Reasonable Doubt by Jay-Z, It Was Written by Nas, Muddy Waters by Redman, Hell on Earth by Mobb Deep, Stakes is High by De La Soul, Illadelph Halflife by The Roots, Hardcore, Lil' Kim, Il Na Na, Foxy Brown, Ice Cream Man, Master P, New World Order, Poor Righteous Teachers, The Coming, Busta Rhymes, Iron Man, Ghostface, Beats, Rhymes and Life, Tribe, Bow Down, West Side Connection, and Dogfather by Snoop Dogg. And if you think you just gonna snatch the best album out of that list in 3 minutes, you out of your damn mind.
Yeah, Godspeed.
Good luck. So what we did was we pulled out a few that we wanted to talk about, and then we will try our very best, because questions don't go unanswered on this show. You don't get the both or I don't know questions on this show. So we will have an answer, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't. You can skip to it if you want to, but we will answer this question. Just remember, when we say the best, we're saying the best that I think is the best.
Or
I can't speak for anybody else. I don't speak for we're not even going to agree on this. The two of us won't. B.A., why don't you lead us off, man? What was the first album you thought was one of the best of 1996?
First of all, shouts out. God, I can't even remember. I seen this post in a poll on Twitter, which got me thinking, which is why I hit you up with it. I thought it was interesting. I thought their choice was interesting for sure, because their choice is not one of our choices. I thought that was interesting. But of course, 1996, double disc, All Eyes on Me. Like, 1996 gave us the heat. Y'all heard the list. But my first thought in 96, and if you say in the first 30 seconds of thinking about albums, if this wasn't one of this album, this album was everything on the West at the time. This album was a lot of firsts.
This album was almost a no-skip album, and it was a double album.
And it was a double disc. This album was good enough to be two separate albums, which could have been two separate no-skip albums. That's how crazy it was. Yes. You know what I'm saying? What about you? What'd you think about first?
I guess the first one that I thought about, it's going to sound like chalk. It almost feels like picking Kansas when you're going into the Final Four, but I started with Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because that's not my favorite Jay-Z album. It's my second favorite Jay-Z album, but I do think Jay-Z has two no-skips albums, and I think this is one of them.
So crazy thing about that is the poll, this is the album the poll chose. They said the best album in 1996 was Reasonable Doubt. Now, for me, I know I'm going to get destroyed here in a second, but I could never pick Reasonable Doubt as being the best album of 1996 for me, because I didn't listen to Reasonable Doubt in 1996. In 1996, I was not a Jay-Z fan. I was not on Reasonable Doubt. And in my mind, he still wore a Hawaiian shirt. So I was not really trying to feel that at all. So I didn't even really get into Reasonable Doubt until In My Lifetime Volume 2 came out. Then I had to go back and I did hear one or two songs off of it. I'm not saying I did it. It wasn't my thing. In the words of my man, Michael Blackston from The Next Friday, I really couldn't get jiggy with it. You know what I'm saying? Like I really couldn't do nothing with it.
The first track off that album that I heard was the one with him and Big.
Uh-huh.
And that was the reason that I went into that album. That's a classic track, the one with him and Biggie. It was the Brooklyn's
Yeah.
Finest.
Now Brooklyn Finest was dope.
That was a way I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check this out. I got to see what the rest of this is about. And I liked his style. I liked his style earlier on than I did later. I actually even liked the style that he was running with when he was doing like the 7-minute freestyle with Big
With
L.
Jazz.
I liked his style with Jazzo. I mean, I really like that style, but yeah, Reasonable Doubt still had just a little bit of that, but more of the Jay-Z that we know now in it. And it was just the cadence, the style, everything on that really worked for me on that one. So tell me another one, man. What else you got?
It's funny you said that though, because even now, I think back and I was like, when I first heard that, I thought that was Biggie's song. Like that's how crazy. That's how crazy. How crazy not into Jay-Z I was back then. But for me, 96, man, the first time I stood in line, I'm in the military at this time. I'm serving the country. I worked a night shift. And I remember getting off at 8 a.m. The commissary and the BX opened at 9. And I remember standing outside the BX on a Tuesday to get ATLiens by OutKast. It was the first time I ever stood in line to wait on something. I was like high school age. I was a grown ass man in 96.
Here's a coincidence that our audience is not going to care about at all, but it's funny as hell to me. So I'm going to say it. I at first got ATLiens at the BX in boot camp on the graduation weekend when my parents had flown in and everything. I went to the BX and we went shopping, and then I was like, oh, OutKast has got a new one out. Yes, sir.
Man. So I get it, I take it, and I don't know what made me go straight to this song, but I went straight to B.A. And from that moment, you couldn't tell me nothing. First of all, I listened to that song probably 8 times in a row before I started listening to the whole CD.
For me, I won't even pick a song off of it. That sound coming off of what they did with Southern Playalistic to go to that, I was blown away. And
Absolutely.
CDs do not blow me away a lot, but I was blown away that you could go to something that different and be that good with it. I know I use the word masterpiece a lot, but that's what the show is about. It's talking about the masterpieces. And that one was up and down, in and out, all day, every day. ATLiens, you bump that everywhere. That was something that just bumps in your car. You put the CD in and you just let it bump.
Yeah, you got to let that ride. And on this show, I've used the words, it just feel good to you several times. But that was an album, to be honest, just like most OutKast albums, that was an album, it made you ride. You took the long way to stuff. Like you didn't try to ride it out, but you couldn't, or you sat in the driveway and let the song finish before you turned off. Like you couldn't just end it, like just pull up, turn the car. Nah, you had to finish.
Of that, I can easily spin off that because this album was another one just like that for me, and it's Riding Dirty with UGK. That is another one from you just put it in and let it go, because I call that a no skip album. People might argue with that. I don't care. There is not a song on that I skip. That is like, I'm not saying that they peaked at that album, but that is peak UGK. That is like, if you want to know, like when people ask me about UGK, I tell them to go to Riding Dirty. I say start at Riding Dirty, and you really should go backwards first. You really need to get the Pocket Full of Stones, but Riding Dirty is just like the best of both of them to me. And that's why I love that album so much. That's the best of Bun and Pimp.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was on it, but I wasn't on it. Like it punched me in the face because it was unexpected. So in 96, I wasn't really quote unquote looking for new UGK music. But again, thanks to the military, you're always surrounded, right, by people from so many different areas. And just so happened, this crew chief was from Houston, Texas. And I mean, I don't think that man owned any music that wasn't from that area. So we had many a 20 box conversation over UGK on break. So that was dope.
What's funny is, you know, who introduced me to it was another player from Houston, went by the name of Kinfolk. And you'll see why we call him Kinfolk in just a second, because we were deployed in an undisclosed location.
There wasn't undisclosed little kid
Yeah.
shoutings.
And I was going to the beer tent, another undisclosed location. And he goes, "Hey, Kinfolk, I got something for you. Come here." I put the headphones on my ears. Ones like this back then, because we didn't have earbuds or anything like that. This wasn't on a phone. This was on a portable CD
Yeah,
player.
it's on a portable, on a portable.
He was on the Discman. And the first words I heard were, "I'm tired of living messed up. I'm tired of living bad. I'm tired of hearing grandmama tell me, when you gonna go to church, Chad."
That was
And
it.
I was hooked from then on. I was like, this
That
is
was
my
it.
new favorite. So I know you got another album in here. 96 was full of them. What else you pull out of your bag?
I come at you this way. 96, I mean, we talked about some bangers already, but 96 arguably gave us what some say might be top 3, top 4 albums of all time. It gave us The Score by the Fugees. I'll talk about Lauren in a minute. What Wyclef was able to do from a production standpoint on that project, from a complete album standpoint. And I'm not asking you to argue with me, but when you watch this, put it in the comments so I can listen to what's comparable to that. From a production standpoint, I challenge anybody to give me a better album. Give us a better album than The Score across the board. I mean, 3 #1 singles with the epitome of Ready or Not. Ready or Not is in the conversation to be what, top 10 rap song, just songs, single, whatever, all time. And it's led by I Play My Enemies Like a Game of Chess. We just go there. We just come on, man. Come on. What you think about The Score, bro?
I am all about albums that have a personality. There are times like great producers and great artists, when they get together to put together an album and it has a personality, it has a theme, it has like either this is the point, this is how I'm feeling at this point in my life, or let's go with this theme, or whatever it may be. It's something that has an attitude to it. It has a tone, and the tone of it is so many different things at the same time. It's beautiful, but it's haunting. There's something
No, yeah,
haunting about
yeah.
the sound of that. There's oppression in it. There's struggling, but there's surviving from that. There's using what you have to get what you need. There's having to get aggressive. There's just like the whole range of emotions you go through in that album. And you can take me through that as a producer, even more so as a group of
That's tough.
artists, because
Man,
if you've ever recorded with somebody else, you have no idea how difficult it is to mesh creative styles. But to be able to put all that together on one album, that's why you don't see so many groups.
no.
And that's why it was special that they could put things together that well.
I mean, The Score was like, if you didn't have
The
a track list,
the score for something that was
yeah,
it was the score.
because
It was a
if you
movie
didn't
score.
have a if you didn't have a track list and there was no skits and you just started it, it was so well put together that it would have got to the end and you wouldn't have missed the fact that you didn't hear songs transition the traditional way. You wouldn't have got upset that you was like, well, there's no break into it. You didn't need one. The Score was like listening to a jazz album. You know what I'm saying? Like my pops used to have a reel to reel and he would just put on Thelonious Monk. And that's what I felt about The Score. It was just, it was damn near perfect.
Yeah, it's hard to argue it, man. If that you could call that, I'm gonna be honest, you could call it the best album of 96. You could call it the best album of the 90s. I mean, and I don't know that I'd push back a ton on you about that. Like, I
And it's
don't think
hard. It's
like
very difficult.
because you're gonna ask me what I'm gonna put ahead of it, and that starts to get really hard. So yeah, I agree with that, man. I'm gonna change. I will keep it in the same artistic realm with the last one that I really thought about, and it might be, if you watch this show, or those of you who watch this show and you got the CD, it might be a little bit. It might be a little bit different for you, but I'm going back to my roots. So I'm a nerd. I've been a nerd for a long time. I taught English at universities. I've been a newspaper editor, and I've been publishing history books for the last 13 years. So that is not a flex because there ain't no money in anything I just said. Uh, but that's what I've been doing. And so that's how I treat, I love art. And this album that I'm bringing up was just another artistic masterpiece. And it's New World Order from Poor Righteous Teachers. I listened to these albums on the list that I'll put in the comments for everybody, but I got stuck on this one and went back. I stayed on it for about 4 days, just going through it over and over again. And from a conscious standpoint, these guys were just on, they were on another level, man. This is art this is poetry that they were making. And this is the kind of thing that I study. These guys were making poetry and they were saying something.
When you give a PRT, that probably the greatest way to describe PRT's music. They say something. They don't dance when they don't hear music. They don't soft shoe around. They hit you in the face, but it ain't just that old floating jam. They hit you in the face with issues. They make you almost uncomfortable with the knowledge. Like, did you know? Why didn't you know? Why you not listening? Pay attention. Wake up. Like, they hit you. And it's not one song for the culture. It's not one song for the trend or for the cause. It's 13 songs. If you're watching us and you say two things: one, who the hell is Poor Righteous Teachers? And two, if you have no idea that this album came out in 96 or ever heard of this album, there's a reason for that. The reason is shame on us. That's the reason. The reason why you didn't hear about that is because you will never hear about this album going diamond or double platinum or triple platinum. I think it sold 400 copies, to be honest. 400,000, copies, to be honest. Crazy though, right? There was a lot of albums that came out that year were phenomenal albums, but had more of an entertainment value to them, except just lyrics. So it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but PRT has been one of my favorite groups since '89, period.
And yeah, if you haven't heard of them or heard that album, man, please do yourself a favor and go listen. Go listen to that. You will
not be disappointed for sure.
Yeah, we glad you did. All right, so I'm gonna put these two together because they came out at the same time. They were peers. They were battling with each other, and they were kind of a new class of female rappers. So we had Il Na Na from Foxy and Hardcore from Lil Kim.
Woo, the beef.
Yeah.
The beef.
The two big female rappers in New York going at it. Personally, I thought Hardcore was the better album, and I think it is probably Kim's best album. But
yeah, probably.
But I do love Foxy, man. I like Foxy's voice. So Foxy could just read. She could read the dictionary to me, and I would be just read the dictionary over a beat, and I'll be like, "Hey, did you hear that dictionary track that Foxy dropped?" I mean, but so I like them both, man. I don't think as good as they were good enough to compete with everybody else that came out, and I don't even think in 1996 they were really given the same shot that they would be given if they came out right now. You know, they would be given a way bigger audience now. So it's really, they came out at a rough time for them.
Talk about it. I mean, they both that put their footprint on their career in 96, both of them. You know, tragic for Foxy, right? With the ear and going deaf and not really being able to continue the career for health reasons. Examine that for just a couple seconds. What if Il Na Na and Hardcore dropped last week, #1 and 2 female album in hip hop? Arguably, if they dropped last week, might be in the top 5 of hip hop of all the music that's out right now.
Somebody's dissing, and then we got another dun, dun, dun situation.
I mean, hear me when I tell y'all. So you have two females who can rhyme. Yes, a lot of their lyrics are sexually explicit, but you don't miss the bars. It's not sex over bars. It's bars over sex. Clearly.
Yeah, they had to find a lane to run in, and that was probably the only one that they could really find to work in was that sexual angle. Well, let's do one more. You got anything left?
Yeah, even though it was their third studio album, the only way I could really describe Illadelph Halflife by The Root is it was extremely Philadelphia. Now, the Philly sound is unique, and a lot of people confuse the Philly sound as just being an East Coast sound. It all kind of gets merged in. Philly, New Jersey, no, just as different as Brooklyn and the Bronx, and Philadelphia has a sound. And I feel like the industry allowed the Root to do what they wanted to do, to be Philadelphia. Because to be honest, I think I only know maybe one or two of their songs that really hit radio off of that album, but the album went double platinum. Somebody was listening. And Illadelph Halflife was an MC's album. You heard us talk about the man behind the mic of that group. It was an MC's album. What you think?
I was about ready to say what you said. Black Thought, man. That's almost like saying Jordan's name. I don't have to say what's after that. You just say Black Thought. Dope name, dope lyrics, dope style, dope cadence. The reason that Illadelph Half-Life was a good album is because it was made by a group that doesn't make bad albums.
Not a one.
You might have
Give me a
ones
bad
that you-
Roots album. I dare you.
That's what I'm saying. You've got your favorites. You've got some you don't listen to, but they're not bad.
Nah.
They're not bad out. They might not be, you might not be feeling it. And there's some that I don't, that, you know, I don't listen to all of their albums all of the time, or even a lot of the time, but you know what I'm saying?
I like how you said all the time, you know.
But yeah, they don't make bad albums. So now it's come down to the choice.
Yeah.
Would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
Absolutely will go first.
For me, who, for you, had the best album in 1990?
So I had my own little criteria, right? So I did my research. I wanted to see who, the numbers don't lie. So I wanted to see what the numbers said. Then I wanted to see what the street said. And then I kind of looked at the middle road as far as how many singles came out of that. Like how many, you know, and how did you get your momentum? Did you have to depend on the strength of one single? Did you have several singles out? Was it a good video? Like I looked at a couple different things, right? And for me, the data says go with the score. Not what I went with, but the numbers say go with the score. For me, I went with the album I felt like gave us, this is before we start counting streams, good people, gave us an album that went 13 times platinum. I feel like this album gave birth to what that album would become. For me, the best album in 1996 was ATLiens, hands down, because it gave us the blueprint that got us to the speaker box. It gave us Aquemini. It gave us the print that ultimately got to a level that on just sales, album sales, not streams, that gave us 13 times platinum. That's crazy.
And they were the reason that the West Coast and New York started looking at the South like,
okay, maybe I do got something to say. We listed some hot ones. What you got for your number one?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go, like I said earlier about being a nerd, I'm gonna go to my roots for this one. And I'm gonna go back to my love of being a nerd. I love art, like I said earlier, and everybody has their preferences for what they like. This is purely me. I'm not speaking for anybody other than Chad right now. Everybody has their preferences of what they like. Some people like music because they want to party to it. Some people want to feel good music. Some people like to think with it. Some people whatever. I like music that makes art because I feel like if you have the opportunity to, then you need to say something. If you have a platform, if people are listening to you, I'm not saying you need to preach to them all the time or preach to them. You don't speak at people, you talk to them. And when you have a platform, I think you should speak to people. And the reason is because that's power. That's using your talent and doing something great with it. Not that making music for entertainment doesn't put joy in people's lives, but for me, I put greater value when you're edutaining people. And that's why I thought, for me, the best album was PRT with New World Order. Because it's a conscious rap masterpiece. That thing is, there is so much thought and education and research just by paying attention to the world and everything around them and being able to put all of that into the right words and into a poetic form like they did. The amount of work that goes into that and the amount of talent it takes to pull it off, for me, that's what makes it the best. All of those things together are what make it the best rap album in 96.
Cannot argue with that. for that reason, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of argument to be had, but how you put that, can't really argue on that. Like knowing you, that makes 1000% sense to me. Right? That makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah,
East
I
Coast,
know
don't
a
be
lot
mad
of
at us.
yeah, right. I know there's a lot of great albums. Like, there's no real wrong answer out of all of
Yeah, it's just
the
us.
albums we listed. Like, yeah, that's just what I think. And there are certain things that I think, you know, art should do. And there we go. And BA went on the just on impact. You know, there's a lot of different reasons to pick what you think a best album is, who you think a best rapper is. So whenever you see best lists, even from us, you got to wonder what the criteria are that they're judging that on. All right, that'll do it for us. Appreciate y'all for rocking with Grown Man Boys. We appreciate the love. If you haven't already, smash that like and subscribe, and
Hit
we will
the
catch
like.
you. Be good, y'all.